One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now.
Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. The date today is the 27th of Feb 2009. I'm cool because I shortened that word. Can never really pronounce it properly. Always had a bit of an issue with that particular month. That's why I don't like it. But this is Blue Please on WoW Radio. 3 days after the last airing of Blue Please on WoW Radio, which was like 10 days after the last airing of Blue Please on WoW Radio. Which, yeah, but we could go on with this for a while. There really is no point. What have we got coming up in the show today, you might ask? And I might answer! Because I'm feeling like it. But if I didn't feel like it, I wouldn't answer. This could be a problem for you, because you'd be left wondering, I wonder what he's going to talk about today on Blue Please. I have no idea. I do, thankfully. I have a list here. It consists of 5 lines. My entire show condensed down into 5 lines. Anyway, yes! What are we talking about today? Well, the Hearthstone's getting changed. Yeah, after all of the excitement of like 3 days ago when all that new content came out, I was like, oh my god, look at all that stuff. The Argent Tournament, World Events, New Ulduar, all this cool stuff, everything's got a hard mode. And this time we have Hearthstone got buffed. Yay. Seriously, WoW is made entirely of pits and troughs. Or peaks and troughs. It actually is made of pits and troughs. Seriously, it's just all bad. No. Peaks and troughs. Just, they announce some great stuff, and then they just come out with these silly little changes. We will be talking about it later on in the show, although I must say, I don't personally have an opinion on it. At all, I don't care. Being a mage, it doesn't affect me in the slightest. I can portal more. Yay, I can do that anyway. But we will be talking about the difference between happy money and unhappy money. And whether or not changes like this are caving into whining or providing some inconvenience for the player base. And what is the rationale behind making such seemingly small changes after like 4.5 years? We should be going into that a little bit later on the show. Also, AQ20 retrospective. Arcanist Belt got re-rating as opposed to raiding. Yes, we're back on the scene and we went and cleared AQ20. And we enjoyed it very much. Arcanist Belt, of course, being the level 60 guild that we're running to do old game content. Yeah, I suppose that'll work. It'll do for the moment. We're talking about AQ20 and the lessons that were learned from the second ever 20-man instance and doing a little bit of a comparison and discovering some rather interesting things that I hadn't noticed before Wrath of the Lich King. A lot of interesting inspiration in there. We'll go into that a little bit later on the show. Also, 10 and 25 mans. The problem. I.e., the problem being that Blizzard have no idea what they're doing with them. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on the show. We're going to try and decide, with your help, of course, whether or not 10 and 25 man should be separate but equal, or completely different. Who knows? But we've got to define them somehow, because Lord knows Blizzard seems unable to do so. Right. That's all that out of the way. We go into the mailbag in just a moment. Actually, no. Let's go to the mailbag now. You don't want to hear about my woes.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed. It is time for the mail. Yes, the mail. I have been looking in my box of mail, and I've found things. Yes, I have. So let's have a look at it. First mail comes up from Holy Ice and says this. Hi, TB. Lately in Blue Please, you've been talking about how you no longer need a certain class in raids anymore. Also, you've been talking about hard modes, like killing extra stuff to get more loot, so I thought of an idea to sort of solve the problem with the classes. In each raid, there should be something like on the side to get more loot that plays to a class's spells. For instance, a trap is in the way of an optional boss, you need a rogue in your group to disarm it, then fight the boss to get loot. So for a druid, you maybe have to travel to the Emerald Dream, blah, blah, blah. This would make fights more challenging and fun. And also, if you wanted a specific loot table, you can take that class along as well. Now, I do like the idea of being able to sort of affect the loot table a little bit with your class balance, although I must say that having little encounters that need sort of gimmicks like that does seem a little bit pointless. What I like is when you design an encounter that can be done in several ways, but each strategy uses specific classes in order to do it. Dire Maul did this very well, the Tribute Run specifically. The Tribute Run was a very good example of having different classes doing different roles, but still being able to beat the instance without those classes. It was just easier, and you would perform better if you had certain classes. Like, for instance, a rogue for lockpicking and all that kind of thing. I don't know whether or not it really matters anymore, because now that they've homogenized the classes so much, it does seem to me that putting, like, class-specific stuff back into instances would be something of a waste of time. The issue that I had with Bring the Player, Not the Class was mainly because they made the instances way too easy, and I do blame that particular aspect of the raid design philosophy a little bit for that. But mostly because they've homogenized the classes so much as a result, and it's interchangeable. It's like you can really take anybody and it doesn't matter. I made the example of doing the instance with 23 hunters and a paladin, you know, that kind of thing. All sorts of crazy stuff. You can do these endgame instances with a completely unbalanced raid, and yet you just walk all over them. And what that causes is, you know, quite obviously, DPS classes particularly just suffer. Because obviously, if you have access to the top DPS, and there will always be a top class in DPS, and that may change from patch to patch, but generally speaking, in most of the encounters, there is a top class for DPS. You will take more of that class, and the other classes that can't perform so well will miss out, because raid utility doesn't matter so much anymore. And that's really the issue that I always had with Bring the Player, Not the Class. It wasn't so much a case of, hey, let's have some kind of gimmick, like the Suppression Room, again, where you have to disarm the traps. That's kind of long gone. Unfortunately, in its place has come a monumental sense of homogenization on the part of class balance, and I'm not a big fan of it. I like to see diversity, I like to see variety, I like to see classes finding their roles in the raid that don't get lumped down to 3 basic parts: healing, DPS, and tanking. It would be nice to have a little bit of colour in there, as opposed to merely slight shades of grey. Right, next email. This is an interesting email. This email is going to lead on to the 10 and 25 man discussion, and it says this: Hi-ho, TB. As you might have heard in the past few days, we've had a blue post hinting at the removal of both the 10 and 25 man overall raid achievements for the Plagued and Black Proto-Drakes. Now, as a hardcore player, this is great news, as it lets me retain my elitist status, and all the nubs in Grass's Landing will know it. But the little casual in me, trying to break out, is furious. Now, these achievements are a pain in the arse to do, but what they do come down to, really, is the Immortal/Undying in 10/25 man Twilight Zone. I challenge anyone to find a real 10-man raiding guild, only 10-man gear and craftables, who have killed 3 drakes. Right, well, I want to just stop you there, because I do know that these guilds do exist. This is the mistake that a lot of people say. They always get into this argument and say, well, I bet this isn't the case. It's WoW. It's the case. It exists. There's 12 million players, somebody's doing it. Like, I saw a post on the forums today saying, oh, there's no such things as old-school raiding guilds, because there's no way you could ever get 40 people together for it. It's like, there's 12 million players. That's a huge number of people. Of course there are people that do this. It's like real 10-man guilds that have done 3 drakes with 10-man gear. Yeah, I imagine there are. I know of one that's definitely done it with 1 drake, and will probably be going for 2 drakes relatively soon, and then 3. I would imagine there are more. If you know of any 10-man guilds, real 10-man guilds, quote-unquote, then by all means, send it into themurloc@gmail.com. Email me at themurloc@gmail.com if you know of any guilds like that. But I'm 99.999% sure that they exist, because it's WoW and there's tons of players, and I'm pretty sure that has happened. Now, if there aren't any, then I would say that there is a real issue with the way that 10 and 25 man has been conceived, but we'll come on to that in the next section of the show. Anyway, he goes on to say, the fight is nothing but a side game for 25-man raiders, and even then it's a challenge after the 3.0.8 buffs. Blizzard said repeatedly that it was a fight that shouldn't have been doable this early in the game, and that would need old war gear to get through it, but now with them removing of the Raider achievements, they're punishing bad players, yay, but also the small guilds who must be pissed enough that through no fault of their own, they'll lose out on the chance to own a plagued Proto-Drake because Blizz botched their tuning of that encounter at release, making it too easy for 25-man Raiders. That's from Mecha from Nordisil EU. Yeah. I don't know, to be honest, whether Sarth 3 Drakes is way too difficult for a 10-man guild. I think that would be an interesting little thing to look at, but I must say, and this is something that goes all the way back to Wrath launch, when I was talking specifically about the removal of the titles for Archdruid and all that kind of stuff. It was basically the first to 80 titles, yeah? They removed them because people cried that they couldn't get them. The idea of diversity in the game is promoted by the idea of exclusivity within the game. The rarer an item is, the more desirable it is, and the more variety it brings into the game world. It ceases to be variety if everyone's got it. That's why the Black Warbear was very cool upon Wrath launch, and is now the biggest scrub mount ever. Everyone rides them, because everyone has done that stupid achievement. I don't ride one. I ride a big Blizzard Bear. The white one with the Murloc that sits on top of it. Now that is a rare mount. That is a status symbol, that is a little bit of EP, that brings variety, it brings a splash of colour, again, to the game world, to have something that's different. Now, if people are complaining they can't get the black Proto-Drake or whatever, well, to be honest, I must say tough luck. Really. It's the same people that complained that they couldn't get the Armani Warbear after Wrath launch. It's like, you have had enough time to learn this encounter. If you were supposed to be good enough to clear everything, and I do mean everything, in the game, including all of those stupid achievements, then you should have got it by now. If you were not good enough to do that, then, to be honest, tough. Seriously. It's a mount, really. If everybody had it, it wouldn't be exclusive now, would it? No. It represents the group of people who are able to perform incredibly well during the first 3 months of the game. It's an achievement in a very real sense, an actual achievement, as opposed to a badge that you get given, somewhat like the baby Cub Scouts, where they give you badges just for showing up. It's a real achievement, made flesh, and you get to ride it about. And yes, it is unique. It's the same guys that got the albino raptors and stuff like that, the really old school raptors before they changed it. Yes, some people still do have those. And people complained that they couldn't get them anymore. Even though, of course, they changed the models into something way, way better. It's like, that is exclusivity. These are guys who raised a lot of money. 100 gold back then. Was it 1,000 gold actually to get an epic mount at that point? Yes, it was. An incredible amount of money at that point. 1,000 gold when the albino raptor was around? That is almost unthinkable. That was an achievement. There's maybe one guy on my server that has that. Now that is a genuine achievement right there. And of course you get people complaining that they can't get it. Look, you don't get to have everything. It's a sense of entitlement that I wish would go away in WoW, because the sense of entitlement has strangled the level of difficulty in the game, it's strangled the level of variety in the game in terms of gear and class. It's like, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do this. So okay, we'll nerf it down so you can do it. We'll homogenize the classes so you can do it. We'll make it easier, 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 easier. I want a bear. Okay, everyone can have a bear. There was a quote in a Pixar movie, I believe, called The Incredibles. And just to paraphrase it, because I can't exactly remember what it was, and it was, if everyone is super, nobody is. Which is absolutely true. You are supposed to have a field of people, and some people are supposed to be down one end, and some people are supposed to be at the other. Now, if you take that personally, then that is your own problem. I have no sympathy for that. I have been on both ends of the spectrum. I have been in a cutting-edge-ish raiding guild, who is doing the latest content and getting the best loot. I have been in a terrible raiding guild, where I've had to fight them every inch of the way just to get them through the most basic of encounters. And I've been everywhere in between. And I have never at any point felt this kind of venom or spite or entitlement that says, I should be getting this. Like, no, I shouldn't be getting this because I'm not playing at that level. When I start playing at that level, maybe I can get a shot at it. And in the meantime, I can admire those people that did get that stuff, and I can feel good that they have achieved something. Because it's not all about me, 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 me. You wouldn't want to see everybody in tier 7.5. It's easy to be special. We already have that now. You see everyone in tier 7.5. People who've got it from VOA, they don't even deserve it. Tier gear isn't special anymore. Epics aren't special anymore because everybody wanted them. So everyone got them. I remember back in the day, I'll be talking about AQ20 a little bit later on, and I'll tell you about the blues that you got in there in Zul'Gurub, when they thought that those smaller form, easier instances did not mean that you deserved epics all the time. But no, now you do something that is indeed easier than that content, and you're drowning in epics. Epics are not special anymore, epics are not epic, and this is all the same kind of problem, all wound down to this tiny little ball of hatred and entitlement that says, I want this. And I pay my subscription fee, so I am entitled to it, but I don't have to do the work for it. Variety is the spice of life, and variety is what keeps the game going, keeps the game interesting. I like looking at things which I cannot have. That's why I go window shopping. I window shop for mounts. I will never get that Drake, to be honest. So I probably won't get around to attending a 3 Drakes run and doing all the other stuff, but I don't care. Because other people got it, and it's brought a bit of colour to the horizon and my particular screen in the game. My name is Total Biscuit, and you are listening to the one and only Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I've got some Haunted for you. This may contain strong language. I will be right back after this.